Never believe what it says on the front. I always say that is their billboard.
That's the slick marketing. Gluten-free, low fat, natural, right? Because that fools everyone, and it's always BS.
They always have these pictures of cows and green pastures, and they just try to get you there.
A school teacher did an experiment. They had this box about the size of a coffin, filled it with dirt, and then they loaded it up with earthworms. Over here, they put Twizzlers, a McDonald's Big Mac, multiple foods that kids eat. Over on the other side, they put real food. One thing was a pork chop, an apple. Those foods were still there exactly the way they were, the bad ones, and the other ones were gone. The bacteria, the earthworms, everything natural ate them down. I think we should let the earthworms vote. If earthworms eat it, then it should be allowed for our children. If earthworms don't eat it, we shouldn't be allowed to sell it.
You see natural flavors on there and you go, what aisle would natural flavors be in? I can't find it in the grocery store. That is an ultra-processed food.
Real dairy, God's way, is one of the healthiest foods you can potentially eat. When cows eat grass, get sun, and don't have to take antibiotics, it's arguably one of the healthiest foods. Conventional dairy is poison.
It's loaded with growth hormones. You are getting milk from sick animals. Either you have to make time for your wellness or you will be forced to make time for your illness. You just will. And it's gonna come.
My next guest makes diet easy. Oh, and she doesn't believe in diets, nor do I. Okay, but look, I know. If it's hard, when we want to eat right, what do? We go into a grocery store, can't even figure it out. Sometimes even I scratch my head because of all the changes and all the ingredients. Well, stay tuned to the show because she is going to make it easy. She's going to tell you how to navigate a grocery store. And we're going to talk about some of the new MAHA stuff, some of the new legislation, because she's at the core of it all. And I'm here with Courtney Swan. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you know, honestly, I send people to your page when they start giving me like about a diet. Well, I'm like, this gal will show you better than me on your Instagram. So, because you do, I mean, the recipes alone, like, yeah. I think like my daughter-in-law, Ava, was like, to the one that turned me on to you, truthfully. Yeah, but it's your recipes, the things, your videos, you make it tangible. Like, that's not my job. I tell people this is dangerous, use this, but you make it tangible. You tell people how to navigate a grocery store. So
thank you.
We're going to do that. Okay, I want to back up though. I mean, how'd you get into this? Because you do have a story. I know a little bit of it just from researching you.
Yeah, so I was one of the lucky kids. So I grew up in what I call the Dunkaroos era, where we were all eating Dunkaroos and, you know,
wait, hold on. What Dunkaroo? I don't even know what Dunkaroos are.
Oh, really? Okay,
what's a Dunkaroo?
My generation was obsessed with them. I think they still make them, but they're not really.
Did you know what Dunkaroos are? I'm talking to her husband over there. No, I don't know Dunkaroos. What Dunkaroos?
So maybe I need to call it like the Pepsi generation. But they were these tiny, well, they still kind of make them, but they just don't, I don't see them a lot anymore. But there are these little packets that came with little cookies and an icing thing that you would dump in there. And to me, it's just a representation.
Okay.
And they were little kangaroo cookies that you would dunk into icing. And to me, that is just the perfect representation of that generation and the food that we were all eating. You know, we were eating Pop-Tarts and toaster strudels, and I mean, and people still are, but I feel like that was really the height of when it was all being pushed out. You know, in the 90s, it was like bright colors and all the dyed cereals and everything that was really being pushed. Now parents are becoming more aware.
Yeah.
But this was a time when parents, this was also new. They were super unaware of it. I was very lucky that my mom was actually really incredibly on it. Was not really buying that stuff for me. And, you know, we'd get in a lot of fights over it because I was really upset because I wanted the Dunkaroos and Pop-Tarts.
And how old were you then?
Oh, yeah. I mean, like in middle school. So like think, you know, 11, 12, and I'm getting in fights with her because all my friends are going to Burger King and McDonald's and getting the Happy Meals. Yeah. And she was cooking meals from scratch for me at home, which is so funny because now I'm like, that is my dream. Can I go back and live with you, Mom? Because she was making everything from scratch. Yeah. You know, shopping at Whole Foods, buying organic. My mom was really ahead of her time. Mm-hmm. And at the time growing up, I didn't know how good I had it because I was looking at all my friends, you know, eating all their junk food. Yeah,
of course. By the way, all of my children, all 5, we raised them a certain way. They went out and I let them. Good. It's up to you now. And they all came back. All 5.
So that's
all 5
exactly me.
Eat as healthy as we do at home.
Well, and this is what I tell parents because I see so much pushback online. A lot of parents saying, oh, you're depriving your kids. You're going to create an eating disorder and all this stuff. I had the exact opposite experience. I was so healthy as a kid. I was never sick. I was rarely ever on antibiotics. Like I was a very healthy kid. And I go to college. exactly as your kids, full 180. I mean, I was doing Taco Bell, like fourth meal, you know, at midnight coming back from the bars, and none of this I'm proud of. But I needed to go through that experience because what ended up happening is I gained a bunch of weight very quickly. I got cystic acne I'd never had before. I was inflamed. I couldn't focus in school. And because I'd had that baseline of feeling so healthy and good, I knew what it felt like to be healthy.
That's what my kids said. Yeah.
I knew something was wrong.
A lot of kids don't have that baseline because they just always felt crappy.
Exactly.
So they're like, yeah, you know, what is this diet? It's not doing any different to me, right? So,
Yes.
But my kids did. They went out and they were like, okay, I can't function like this anymore.
Exactly. Well, when you have that baseline, and I think what we're struggling with in America right now is there's so many people that don't know how bad they feel because they don't know any different.
That's right.
You know, what I'm eating has a connection with how my body functions, how my cells function, and how I feel and how my body looks. And my mom at the time was being very sleuth about this because she didn't want to be overly preachy, but she would cut out newspaper articles and she would physically mail them to my apartment in college, in my dorm room and in my apartment. And
now we send a post.
Exactly.
Watch this Instagram reel, right?
Isn't that so funny? I'm dating myself a little bit here.
Yeah.
Like the internet was obviously existent, but it just was not like how it is now.
Yeah.
And so she was still cutting out like newspaper articles. And I will never forget, she sent me a newspaper article, and I remember the year because I know what apartment I was living in, but it was in 2005. And it was an article about hydrogenated oils, about trans fats.
Yeah.
That's how ahead of time she was on this, because fast forward, we didn't even require food companies to remove hydrogenated oils until I believe it was 2018. 17, 16, somewhere around there. So then I started, you know, researching more on my own, and I just got so incredibly obsessed with nutrition. And once I got myself back on track, I just felt like, wow, I feel so good. I want everyone to know about this. And I was also learning about the corruption of our food industry and how much we were getting duped. And I just felt this passion and desire to go, hey, everyone, we're being poisoned. Something is wrong here with our food supply. And majority of us don't know about it. If I didn't know about it and I grew up in a pretty healthy home, how does anybody else know about it? So I just felt this deep desire to go back to school and study nutrition. So my undergrad was just a Bachelor of, you know, Communications. And so I went back and got my Master's of Science in Nutrition. And while I was doing that, I created Real Foodology because I just needed this outlet. And at the time, I didn't think it was going to become anything. I just was writing these little blogs saying, hey, you know, this is what's happening in our food right now. And then it exploded into what it is now.
Yeah. That's incredible. Pain to purpose, you know, but I mean, again, a lot of people, the pain is they get severely sick. I mean, thyroid conditions, diabetes, obesity, heart disease, I mean, cancer, all of it are just going like this. Right. And we know that food is a big part of it. Right. Yeah. And in the chemicals that are in the food is a carrier. Right. Ironically, we were just telling a story. You were in Italy. You saw my son and daughter-in-law in Italy, and very different when you're eating that food. Right. You don't see all the artificial everything, the dyes, etc. I mean, food is very different. That's why I always joke, and I say you can tell the Americans when you go to Italy because they're the fat ones.
I know, it's unfortunate.
The people that are there, they eat 20% more carbs evidently than we do, but they're not fat. What's the difference?
Well, they're not using the same processing practices that we are. And also there's a lot of it has to do with their flour, I think. So I'm not an expert on this per se, but I do know that they take pride, especially with their bread and their pasta. They take major pride on how they source it and where they get it from. So it's all Italian grown, and they're very specific about the pesticides and herbicides that they use.
Glyphosate, which is sprayed all over our grain here. Yeah. We use glyphosate to shrivel it up and harvest it. That's how much is on it.
Yes.
And it's outlawed there.
Yes.
And it creates leaky gut and it creates obesity.
Exactly. So that's a really big one. The only one I don't know is if they enrich their flour, but I don't think that they do.
Yeah, I don't think that they do.
I'm not 100% on that though, so I don't want to be quoted on that. But you know, one massive misstep that we did I believe it was in the early 1900s, is that we started enriching our flour because we were processing it so much and getting rid of all of the amazing nutrients that live in there that we then had to add the synthetic ones back in.
Remember, they added iodine back in, and I mean, that was Wonder Bread and all of it, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and they're adding
all the B vitamins.
And they're adding folic acid in too.
Yeah, folic acid, synthetic folic acid. But it's all so good for you because look how many vitamins are in there.
Exactly. I know.
I mean, I think most people watching this, like they're not falling for that anymore. Maybe they are. I don't know. I get a lot of new watchers, but yeah, that list of vitamins that's in the white bread that you buy.
Yeah.
Not so good. They're synthetics. not good.
Well, there's one fact that I just recently learned, actually, that I find fascinating. So I have something called the MTHFR gene, which I'm sure you are very aware of. And I just found, so first of all, 60% of women have this gene. And
I was going to say a lot of people have it.
A lot of people have it. So I always encourage everyone. In fact, if you're having kids, I would get your kids tested immediately, because it's also how you're going to treat them. And essentially what it means is that your detoxification pathways are not able to work as efficiently and effectively. And as a result, also you have to have methylated vitamins. But if you have folic acid instead of folate, which is the real vitamin B9, and folic acid is the synthetic version of it, folic acid is essentially poisonous for people that have MTHFR.
Yeah, they can't process it.
Exactly. And so it's incredibly bad for you. And you think about 60%
and by the way,
of women.
It's not even that. A lot of autistic kids that don't have MTHFR genotypes, they still can't process it because they're autoimmune, their own system, their own body's immune system attacked the receptor that allows it into the brain, and then they go around that to another receptor. The bottom line is it becomes very inflammatory.
And this is something else, that there is a connection there. And I'm not sure if we've fully, well, there's that, but then also they found that with autistic kids, they just have lower levels of folate in general. And it's theorized it's because they're getting folic acid instead of the real folate. And so they're not getting the folate that they need.
Yeah. You know, I'll play a little devil's advocate with the gene. The reason I don't like the gene thing is because people define themselves with it. I have all these people coming to me in defining themselves with that. And I got very into that research, years ago. I mean, I was still in practice, so it was before 2010. And you know, I came away from it going, it's not what we think. It's not that simple. And what I mean by that is we have all these people, what we thought the MTHFR gene and the COMT gene, it's like we've realized there's pathways around these things. So just because someone has the gene doesn't necessarily make them, you know, the horrible detoxer, because they have an upregulation of other pathways.
Okay.
Yeah. So, you know, there's no mistake. I mean, a lot of people have these genes, and it's like you realize, oh, like, for example, my wife has no gene on the MTHFR. You know, I have one SNP. And what that means is, you know, there's homozygous 2 SNPs, both parents, you know, one's, I'm telling them, I know you know, but anyway, the bottom line is that she struggled with her methylation. And I didn't, you know, my methylation, everything, not a big deal with me. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, exactly. And I find that to be the case a lot of times. So I always give credit where credit's due. There was a guy, Dr. Alan Vaninsky, and he taught me something. It was called the methylation priority principle, because he too didn't believe it was as simple as the SNP. What that means is methylation is so important, not just for detoxification pathways. Yeah, you have to get it to get rid of bad hormones, bad estrogen, attach a methyl group to it, get rid of it. You turn on genes with it. You turn on the stress response, meaning you turn on cortisol, adrenaline with a methyl group. So
I just discovered this in myself, actually.
Yeah. So when you're depleted, you oftentimes don't turn on that process normally, or you don't turn it off, and people are left with all this weird anxiety. So the principle is this.
Love that you just brought this up.
They prioritize the methylation for survival. The body wants to survive above everything, right?
Yeah.
I don't need to worry about your toxic hormone building up, because that's not survival right now. Yeah. I'll deal with that down the road. I'm talking like your body would talk, right? Innate intelligence. But I absolutely needed to turn on cortisol, adrenaline. So people that are very stressed out, they deplete themselves of methylation. And now they're building up toxic hormones, as an example. Or they're not turning on other really important pathways. People who are chemically stressed out, meaning bucket full of chemicals, they deplete methylation like crazy. And so they're methyl depleted, and they could have perfect, you know, no SNPs on their genotypes or not. But so I always say the biggest judge of methyl depletion is your level of stress, physical, chemical, emotional.
Okay. So that's probably what was happening with me. So I found out I had MTHFR about 7 years ago, and every doctor since then has been like, you need to be on methylated vitamins. I went and saw a recent doctor, and one of my things that I was talking to him about was, I said, you know, I've always just had this low-grade anxiety where it's just like even if I don't have anything, I'm anxious about it. I just am like, oh, like my body just feels kind of ramped up and anxious. And he said, well, are you taking methylated vitamins? And I said, yeah, I have MTHFR. And he was like, I have 677T. And apparently with that one specifically, if you take, but maybe it's more about what you're talking about. But he said that if you take methylated vitamins, it's actually going to ramp up and make you more anxious. The second that I switched back off those methylated vitamins, I have never been more chill and relaxed.
And here's the interesting thing. So as we get, and I'll use an autistic child as an example, as we get them down the road, they can only take fulonic acid. And fulonic acid is not methyl group because, again, when you give them more methylation, typically they're prioritizing it and it creates more anxiety, it creates other problems, right?
Yeah.
So because there's two of these receptors that bring folate into the brain, alpha and a beta. So when you're given a methylfolate, you're getting too much methyl straight into the brain. Anyways, when you give them the fulonic acid, it doesn't have methylation. It goes to the beta thing because that one's destroyed. So it gets in. The methyl ones don't get into the brain because the methylfolates can't use the beta receptor. The beta receptor, the immune system has caused damage to it.
Yeah.
So now all these methyl groups are going throughout and you're overmethylating. And we call it overmethylation and anxiety.
Like ramped up.
Yeah, exactly. But when you give them fulonic acid, what doesn't have the methylation, it goes to the beta receptor, gets into the brain, and then it methylates.
Okay.
But here's the cool thing.
That's very cool.
After a while, it fixes itself, especially after we lower the toxic load. Then they can take methylated vitamins, methylated folates.
So interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyway, look, cool thing. Just working with so many kids and so many things for so long, you kind of learn that pathway. But this methylation issue is a big problem. And folic acid, it's bad for everybody.
It's bad for everybody. Yeah. And then it's in so much of our food supply because they're putting it in bread, crackers, cereal, cookies, anything that enriched flour is in, it's in it.
Yeah.
So it's
I remember years ago, it said folic acid causes cancer. And then everyone was like, oh my gosh, B vitamin causes cancer. They didn't understand
that it was
the natural
synthetic.
version. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So.
I actually didn't hear that, but I mean.
Yeah. It went around for a while and it was, well, not in everybody. This is before we knew what we knew,
Yeah.
So,
It's really
anyway, okay. You were making another point.
Oh, no, you're good. I mean, it's just the overprocessing of our food.
Yeah.
And that's what I really got into when I started learning about our food system and how we've largely stopped eating real food. So if you look at Americans' diets right now, about 60% of Americans' diets comprise of ultra-processed foods. And it's theorized that might actually even be larger now, like 75%.
I was going to say, I think 60% is under. I mean,
yeah.
When you look at what people eat, it's stunning. You know what I always say? I joke about this. Don't ever get gas in the morning or at breakfast time or at lunchtime. And people go, why? Because you always wait in a line. Yeah, why? Is everyone getting gas? No, everyone's eating lunch there and breakfast. Literally, they eat at convenience stores. They eat at gas stations. They line up. And that's where these convenience stores make their money, is the junk food. So there's nothing healthy. You can't find one thing healthy in a gas station, okay? But people are eating breakfast and lunch there.
I actually didn't know that people were eating meals there.
They eat meals.
I mean, it makes sense because they have those, ultra processed packaged sandwiches and.
Yeah, even now they have these places have they make pizza and do things. They have counters of food and yeah.
Well, and I'm old enough to remember as a kid, the gas stations, you'd have a vending machine for Coca-Cola.
Yeah, right.
And I would
now
beg my mom.
Food sections, man. People are eating at these places, And these are our workers, what you see them, right? It's you see all these workers because they come in, they didn't have any, they just got up and they get their coffee or whatever they're getting and they get their energy drink and then they have all of their breakfast stuff. And then at lunch, it's the same thing. They have less than an hour, they come here and they go to the convenience. This is what they do.
And if you think about it, so let's break down their meals. So let's say they're going to breakfast and they're getting, I don't know, maybe they're getting a burrito from 7-Eleven or something and a coffee. And then they go for lunch and they're getting an ultra-processed sandwich that, is enriched flour, processed deli meat that probably has nitrates and nitrites, a laundry list of ingredients that's in that bread, and vegetables that are soggy and probably have no nutrients whatsoever. And then probably a bag of chips, so some fried corn.
Always a bag of chips. And then their sugar
and
drink.
A soda. Yeah, their big gulp.
Yeah.
And then you go to dinner and maybe they go out to eat, maybe they go through the drive-thru and they get McDonald's, or maybe they're eating something at home, but it's probably still a frozen pizza or whatever it is. And then you line all that out and I haven't seen a single piece of food that they've eaten all day because I don't call that food. I call ultra-processed foods food-like products.
You just described the lowest form of eating, which unfortunately is, there might be your 60%. Okay, but then there's this other group, right? That they're trying.
Yeah.
And that's probably the majority of our people. So talk about that group, meaning they're maybe going to Whole Foods or they're going to another grocery store trying to find the better things, right? This is that group. Maybe that's a group of its own. They're in a regular grocery store trying to find the better things. And then we have our Whole Foods group, which is trying, but still getting a lot of junk food, by the way.
I know.
Yeah, paying extra. So talk about this next group, right? They're trying, but they're still not eating good.
Yeah. Well, so I think about some of the biggest offenders. I would say creamers are a big offender. Yogurts are a big offender.
I just did a video on creamers.
I know, me too.
Terrible.
Well, people are starting out their day. Sometimes that's the first thing they put in their body first thing in the morning is their coffee with their creamer. And there's not a single real food ingredient in that.
The coffee mate, this was my video, so it's fresh in my mind right now. First ingredient was water, thank God. Second ingredient was sugar. Third ingredient was corn syrup. Fourth ingredient was soybean oil. It's like, oh my gosh. And then there was natural flavors and then artificial flavors. That was what it was.
And then if you get the sugar-free one, that's
worse. Probably.
Ace K, Splenda. Yeah. It's a chemical concoction of artificial sweeteners.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry to short circuit you because you said creamers.
The creamers
they get fooled by creamers, to your point.
Yeah, and even the healthier one. So I actually just did a video on this on Chobani. So the Chobani creamer, objectively, when you read the ingredients, it looks like it's pretty good. Because if I remember correctly, it was milk, cream, but then it had natural flavors, and then there was maybe one other ingredient there that was maybe real, or maybe it was just the three things.
Yeah.
The natural flavors. So
yeah.
I struggle.
Not so natural.
They're not natural. And you don't actually know what's in them. I mean, there was this really
That's the problem. You can't find out.
There's no way to find out. And what I'm discovering, because I'm starting to work on my own products right now, is that a lot of the manufacturers, so it's become really popular to have very simple ingredients on your label. So objectively, you look at the Chobani label and you're like, oh my gosh, this is 3 ingredients. This is great. They could have 20 ingredients hiding under natural flavors and you just don't know.
You don't know.
And the manufacturers, what they're doing is they know how to do this. They know how to cheat the system. They say, oh, we'll just put all these ingredients under natural flavors. And then you can have this really clean label and it has, oh my God, it has 3 ingredients in it.
Yeah.
But then you can be consuming.
Video. Oh, I'm going to steal that video from her. I'm going to steal, but it was her. Okay. Because she's so much better than me with the food.
No, anyway, you do great videos. I've seen your stuff. It's great.
That's really good. But I would argue about that. Like you just saw me drink a shake. There was milk in that shake. Raw, grass-fed, grass-finished, organic, but dairy. Dairy is one of the most toxic foods. So if it's not organic dairy is at least a starting point, I would never eat it.
I wouldn't. And I'll tell people for a couple reasons. First and foremost, I don't want to put my money into the CAFOs, which are factory farms. If you just look up the living conditions for these cows, it's absolutely horrible. We should have never done this in the first place. And then you look at it from a health standpoint, you're getting milk from sick animals. Yeah. I don't know how else to put it. You are getting milk from sick animals.
Loaded with antibiotics. That's because they're sick. They're sick. They're feeding them things they shouldn't even eat.
Yep. They put them on antibiotics prophylactically, meaning preventatively, because they're loaded in these horrible, dirty conditions, living on top of each other. They're not eating species appropriate diets. So they're being fed GMO corn and soy. They should be eating grass.
And by the way, the problem with dairy, it's concentrated in the dairy. And by the way, that's why real dairy, God's way, is one of the healthiest foods you can potentially eat.
Yep.
Loaded with the nutrients that people miss, the vitamin D, the K2, right? Grass-fed. When cows eat grass, get sun, and don't have to take antibiotics, hormones, and steroids, it's arguably one of the healthiest foods. The exact opposite of what you just described. Exactly. Conventional dairy is poison.
Exactly. And that was one of the other points that I made in the Chobani creamer video, is that you're also getting it from conventional dairy. So it's loaded with growth hormones. I don't remember what the end of my point of that was, but essentially
you're talking about these people that are trying but are getting fooled by these creamers, even these products that are healthy. Keep going on this because you have people's attention on this.
Yeah. And look, I will say I have so much sympathy because I get it. The only reason that I feel like I know how to navigate this better now is because I've been studying for this for 20 years. So I have a lot of sympathy.
And people don't have time or the education.
Exactly. And they have kids and they're busy. And I completely get it. This is something that I majored in and I'm incredibly passionate about. So I try to make it as simple and easy for people as possible. But what you really want to look for is things that are just really simple ingredients. And one of the things I mentioned yogurts, look at the sugar. I always tell people before you even look at the calories or anything else, number one thing when you turn around a package, by the way, never believe what it says on the front. I always say that is their billboard.
Oh,
They're trying to sell you.
That's the slick marketing, I call it. Slick marketing.
Exactly.
Yeah, gluten-free, low fat,
natural,
low calories, natural, right? Exactly. Because that fools everyone and it's always BS.
And then they always have these pictures of like cows and green pastures. And I mean, they just try to get you there. And it's great. It's called greenwashing. So I say, number one, always read the ingredient label. If it is a long laundry list of ingredients,
That's what I say. Yeah.
just already put it back on the shelf because you know
Put
that
it
it's going to
back.
be bad.
If you can't read it, don't eat it. That's the other rule I have.
Exactly. And I think this makes it really easy and simple for people. If you're reading that ingredient label and you see something on there that you think, I have no idea where I would buy this in the store. So for example, if you see like BHT or even natural flavors, you see natural flavors on there and you go, what aisle would natural flavors be in? I can't find it in the grocery store. So that would be a hint to put it back.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say first read the ingredients. And if you could not technically buy all those ingredients at home and make it at home, then I would put that one on the shelf and then look around because generally there's going to be a cleaner option right next to it.
I love that. That might have gone over people's heads, but it was very clever what you just said. It's like, see, she's so good because it's like you said, wait, if there's something that you can't find in the grocery store, meaning, oh, there's a natural flavor, that's for aisle 6. Natural flavors aisle 6. You know, meaning, no, BHT is not aisle 2, right? Meaning if you can't find it in the grocery store, it's absolutely not edible.
Exactly.
Shouldn't be eaten.
It came from a factory.
Yeah.
And that to me is a major red flag.
Yeah.
That is an ultra processed food. So that has been my number one rule forever.
Can I steal that from you? I'm going to give
Of
you credit
course.
for you. I have to
Thank
give you
you.
credit. Yeah.
Thank you. So I say first and foremost, read the ingredient label. And then I say, look at the sugar content. Because I think a lot of people get duped by yogurt. They see organic and, healthy and natural. But a lot of even the organic ones, you turn it around and it'll have like 40 grams of sugar in one serving.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's because there's so many places to get the sugar from, the fruit that they add in, the fruit juice. Yeah. That's typically what it comes from, the fruit juice. People think fruit juice is healthy. Fruit juice is glucose driving, insulin surging. It's like, no. Anyways, and they give it to their kids. But yeah, it's the fruit juice. It's the straight sugar. It potentially corn syrup, there's a lot of places to get the carbs.
Yeah, exactly. So what I do is there's a couple brands I know that if I want a flavored yogurt, which I get sometimes, it's really low. I'll see like 8 grams of sugar on there, which I mean is still kind of a lot, but sometimes if you want that. And I'm sure people have heard this all the time, but I usually just go for the plain. And if I want a little bit sweetener, I'll put honey,
safe thing
monk
to do
fruit.
Right there. Always get organic because
Yes.
all dairy has to be organic as a starting
Yes.
point, right? If you can buy 100% grass-fed, okay, that's another step better.
Yes.
And then you're right. You look at the simple ingredients, right? And the plain is going to have typically like 2 ingredients.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then you can add blueberries or something.
And then I add my own fruit at home. And if you want to make it sugar-free, I'm a huge fan of monk fruit personally. You can get liquid monk fruit and just mix it in, or you can also just do a little bit of honey.
And this is right up your alley. And maybe I got it from you, but people like it sweet. So maple syrup is a very healthy one, right?
Yeah,
and honey to the point. Add your own natural sweetener if you want it sweeter, because people go, I just don't like it.
I know.
Make it likable.
And that's another thing that I do think that we should speak to. So our palates have really been trained to expect things to be so sweet. And if you really start harnessing that a little bit and bringing that in, one thing that really helped me is I started taking note of all of the different food products that had sugar in them that I felt like didn't need it. So for example, your salad dressing usually has sugar in it.
And bad oil.
Soup. Yes, your soups usually they add it. The pasta sauce. There's just been all these places.
Pasta sauce. What? I don't get that. Yeah.
It doesn't need it. And so that was one of the things that was a huge eye opener for me, where I said, start buying the ones that don't have the sugar in it, where you don't need it and you won't even realize that it's gone, because then you'll start training your palate for less sweet and less sugar. And then too, you can save your sugar for when you actually want it. When I want sugar, I want to have like a cookie. I want to enjoy the cookie.
Exactly. I want ice cream or gelato, right? It's like, and I still choose the healthy one because I can get grass-fed, gelato ice cream anywhere now, grass-fed, grass-finished, but yeah, it's, Save it for
where it counts and where it matters.
That's brilliant too, because you're saying all these useless places, take it out.
Just take it out. I promise you will never notice the difference if you buy good brands that taste really good. Just buy the ones that don't have sugar in it. Even like your non-dairy milks, those are loaded with sugar. Peanut butter has sugar in it.
Yeah.
Beef jerky. I picked up a bag of beef jerky the other day at the airport. This single serving bag had almost 40 grams of sugar in it. I was like, wait, what?
Beef jerky.
Meat?
Yeah.
So you got to be really careful. So the sugar is one that I'm really on, because otherwise then it's going to send you on a glucose roller coaster basically all day. And for me personally, I really look out for my sugar, for my metabolism.
No, I make it simple, right? I look out for the sugar and the artificial sweeteners.
Yes.
Okay. So be careful because you go 0 sugar, then it's loaded with artificial sweeteners. We'll talk about that next. And then I get rid of all the bad fats and oils. That's all. I just, I always say I'm a fan of vegetable oil. I love vegetable oil in vegetables. Yeah. I'm a fan of like most seed oils in the seeds, right? It's like, they're very healthy actually, but when you pull them away from those sources, then they become very denatured, inflammatory to the cells. Sugar and get rid of the bad fats. And if you just did that, you're taking your family's health to another level.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say start reading the ingredient labels, be more cognizant of your sugar. It will retrain your palate and you will reach for the healthier things. Oh, and you mentioned, we were talking about ice cream, and I do want to say this too, because I hear a lot of pushback from people online that say, do you ever enjoy yourself? Are you just, depriving yourself? You're creating an eating disorder. I'm here to tell you that when I was in my 20s and I was eating junk food all the time and I was snacking all the time and just felt like I was starving all the time because I was nutritionally starved.
Yeah.
I actually had a horrible relationship with food then because I was thinking about food all the time and trying to think about my next meal. I was addicted to these ultra processed food like products. The second that I started, I completely changed what I was eating. I changed my diet. I was eating whole real foods. And if I wanted a treat, I love Strauss, for example. You mentioned ice cream. They have this organic vanilla bean ice cream. The ingredients are it's like 5 ingredients. Yeah. I would argue you could have it for breakfast if you wanted to.
I know. What's better than anything else that people are eating for breakfast. Yeah.
Because it's, it's milk, it's eggs, it is vanilla, I think sea salt, and they have cane sugar. And yes, it is more sugar, but save your sugar for a treat like that. You're not depriving yourself in that way.
I know.
All I'm trying to do is I'm trying to steer people away from the industrialized food like products. Yeah. Because when you read the ingredient labels on some of these ice creams that are in the grocery store, like Blue Bunny, I did this experiment last summer where I bought Blue Bunny ice cream and I bought a couple of other, little ice cream bars and stuff, and we let them sit on the counter overnight. They didn't melt.
Yeah.
It was like a science experiment.
Yeah,
my husband was there.
Crazy.
We were like, ants didn't get to it at all. We let it sit out for like a week. Ants didn't touch it. It didn't melt.
Yeah.
And we both were like, what is in this?
I was just at a MAHA thing in DC and this farmer spoke. He was so great. And he said a school teacher did an experiment with her class, right? So they had this box about the size of a coffin, he said, and of course filled it with dirt, and then they loaded it up with earthworms, okay? I thought this was brilliant. And to your point about the ants, right? Over here, they put Twizzlers, a McDonald's Big Mac, multiple foods that kids eat, right?
Yeah.
Over on the other side, they put real food. One thing was a pork chop as an example, right? And the other thing was,
maybe like an apple.
An apple. It was an apple. Yeah, it was an apple, right? And there was like 4 foods. Anyway, bottom line is, I don't remember how many months they came back. Those foods were still there exactly the way they were, the bad ones. And the other ones were gone. They couldn't find them. The bacteria, the earthworms, everything natural ate them down, right? It's like, so his point was, I think we should let the earthworms vote, meaning let's just let they have no stake in the game. If earthworms eat it, then it should be allowed on the food for our children, right? If earthworms don't eat it, we shouldn't be allowed to sell it. It's true. It's like, so the earthworms know. It's like we could talk about what's good, what's bad, and all these scientists, and we have a study. It's like, do the earthworms eat it?
Exactly.
Earthworms eat it? Oh, okay, yeah. Then we should probably eat that. Yeah.
I can also already hear the critics saying, "You're not an earthworm,"
but
it's still a living being.
Yeah, exactly.
And they don't need a scientist to tell them what to eat.
That's the point. Yeah, it's like, right? That's crazy. They know what real is, right? So, yeah, I mean, okay. So we're helping people here because, sugar, super easy. And your point is, you don't have to just get it out of the stuff that you shouldn't even have sugar in anyway. And you can minimize that. You're going to change your cravings. I spoke about all the bad oils, right? And, all the, vegetable oil, canola oil, soybean oil, corn oil, sesame oil, all these oils, they denature, they drive inflammation. Get rid of it. And by the way, it's so easy to get rid of these things. You just have to read. And there's alternatives with everything. So this is easy stuff, okay? Yes. And then now the artificial sweeteners makes it a little harder because your point, I look at the sugar content too. I don't look at calories. I don't look at protein. I look at sugar to know, oh, there's something in, oh yeah, there it is, right?
Yeah.
So, but that can be deceiving because, there's only
zero sugar.
Yeah, there's 0 sugar, 1 gram.
Am I allowed to cuss on this show?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
so
absolutely.
I call the sugar-free products chemical shitstorms.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the ingredient label on those ones, I mean, I was looking at the creamers the other day, and the sugar-free ones were actually objectively even worse than the normal ones with sugar.
I agree.
Because they had so many other chemicals in there. There was a study that came out a couple years ago about sucralose, which is also known as Splenda. And they found that sucralose is actually a genotoxin, which means that it damages our DNA. To me, I don't want to take any risk with that. There's also, there's so much debate in the science world between scientists as to whether or not some of these artificial sweeteners are linked to cancer.
And by the way, sucralose, there's a lot of debate. There's some people say it's not as bad as, there's a
lot of
to your point, it's like synthetic.
It's synthetic. And my whole point is, look, we had, when was this? In the 60s, we had doctors telling pregnant women to smoke cigarettes. We get the science wrong a lot. And we change course. And to me, I believe that we also need to leave room in the world of science for common sense.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, logically, we know that it takes about 17 years for the science to catch up to what we already logically know to be true.
Exactly.
And logically, to me, something that is synthetically made in a lab that our body doesn't fully recognize as food, and it mimics sugar to our body, we also know that it mimics. So the second that that fake sugar hits your tongue, your body starts to prepare for glucose.
That's right.
And then when it doesn't get that glucose, then it craves the glucose. So you end up eating more sugar ultimately anyways.
Yeah.
Because it does still have an effect on your body. And so there's also that aspect of it.
Many of them are actually more addictive in the brain.
Yes.
Studies show, because I've presented them, that they actually cause more weight gain than sugar.
Yes, exactly.
And it's because of some of the reasons you're saying right here. So.
And it's interesting to point out, I don't mean this to be mean, but majority of the people that you see drinking diet sodas are overweight. And I think there's a reason for it.
Oh, and by the way, diet soda is more addictive than regular soda. And I'm not making an argument for it. It's the excitotoxin effect in the brain. That's what it
fascinating.
is. Yeah. So it literally stimulates these. And by the way, that's why these sweeteners are very powerful, because they literally create the addiction, and kids love them. Parents love them. I mean, people love them. You get addicted to Diet Coke or diet soda and anything where these sweeteners can be, and you desire them, and it's very difficult to break them.
I also think there's a psychology there where people think when they see 0 calories, 0 sugar, that they can have it free for all. So they feel like they're being naughty, but getting away with it.
Yeah. No, I mean, honestly, I always ask the question, why do you drink that? And they say, okay, here's what they say. They don't say because they're trying to lose weight or afraid of gaining weight. Okay, that's really why they're drinking it. But they say, I like it better. That's what they say 100% of the time.
Which I think Diet Coke tastes bad.
No, but see, they're addicted. They started drinking it not because they were like, oh boy, they were like, I'm afraid. So then they drink, and then they get addicted to and they do like it better because they gets their fix.
It's really funny. I ended up accidentally sort of in this like online beef with this nutritionist. Well, she calls herself a nutritionist, and then I went to her profile and it said Diet Coke enthusiast in her profile. And she was coming at me, like making some rude comments. And so I clapped back because I could be a little sassy. And I said, you might want to sit this out. You're a nutritionist that promotes Diet Coke.
That was good.
She did this whole video on me because she was so mad and offended. But to me, I just think it's crazy how that to me is such an oxymoron. Claiming to be someone that helps people better their health and then saying that Diet Coke is healthy and I drink this
I'm surprised
every day.
she wasn't a dietitian. I'm sorry. There's probably really good dietitians, but most dietitians out there, they're just going by, that old style teaching.
I actually have a personal connection with that. So I was actually on the dietetic track. So I mentioned earlier, so I had my bachelor in arts and sciences. So when I went back to get my master's, I had to go through 2 years of prerequisites. And I went to Texas State and I was doing all my prereqs. I was doing, anatomy and physiology and biochem and Chem 1, Chem 2, all of that.
Just hearing those names.
I know I have PTSD.
I don't want to relive
it.
Yeah.
And I did all of that in a 2-year span, just back to back. It was horrible, but got through it. And towards the end, so I was going to Texas State. And at the time I thought I wanted to be a dietitian. So I went to Texas State specifically so that I could start while I was doing my prereqs. What they do is they start throwing you into the program as you're finishing finishing your prerequisites, and then you apply and go into it. And so as I was finishing my prereqs, I was starting to take some of the dietetic school or the dietetic classes. I don't know why that was so hard for me to remember. And I was doing nutrition, and they put me in food science. And I started to notice, one, that all the professors were telling us, oh, seed oils are heart healthy, and put your clients on low-fat diets.
And by the way, I can find those studies. Funded by who?
Well,
exactly. Yeah.
That's exactly it. And the thing that really turned the corner for me was they have a conference every year from their organization that, the dietitians pay into every year. It's called Eat Right. And the Eat Right conference was being sponsored by Coke and Diet Coke. They had a massive
of course.
thing at the front where they were handing out Diet Cokes. And I went to my parents and I said, I can't do this. I do not want to be educated under a program that is funded by Big Food. Is the antithesis of what I'm trying to do.
They're so smart, though. They go right to the educational sources. Oh my gosh, so smart.
And let's be very clear. I have so many amazing, wonderful registered dietitian friends that have seen it. They've gone through.
That's why I said I was cutting on them. I'm like, there's some really good ones out there, but this is what they're being taught, though. They're being taught by Big Food.
Well, they're getting the talking
points. The curriculum is.
They're getting the talking points from Big Food. They're literally fighting for Big Food, and some of them don't even realize it.
Yeah.
And so I finished my prereqs, and then I pulled myself out of that program, and I decided to get my master's of science in nutrition and integrative health. And I found an integrative holistic program that taught me all the science. I got all the schooling that I would have gotten under the dietetics program, but it was in a lens of root cause, integrative, holistic medicine.
Yeah. Good for you. Gluten-free is another, it's become this marketing scam as well. To your point, don't read the front of the labels because what did you call it?
The billboard.
It's the billboard
for the brands.
It's now become part of the billboard because I found that when people reach for gluten-free, they feel good about themselves, a little bit better about themselves, right? That's what the whole billboard's for. So people feel a little bit better. And there's 3-4 products. Oh, this one's natural. Gluten-free and natural.
Even better.
Organic, right? Even better. But gluten-free products I have found have gotten worse and worse to the point where they're super sugars, literally massively raised glucose, all kinds of weird ingredients.
I know.
Yeah. So people are fooled by this.
They are. They're fooled by a lot of these. And, it is interesting because I've actually had to be gluten-free for 14 years now, but I avoid a lot of those products that you're talking about.
Yeah. This has nothing to do with gluten-free because some people have to be gluten-free.
Yes.
This is the marketing of it.
100%. Well, but you're right. You're spot on because there are so many people that don't actually have. I have a wheat allergy, so I just can't have it. But there are so many people that don't know any better, and then they'll pick it up off the shelf and say, "Oh, gluten-free, it's going to be better for me."
The majority of people don't even probably react to gluten, but are choosing it as a health food.
Exactly. And that's where it's a problem. Well, what's concerning is that a lot of the gluten-free products are testing really high in glyphosate.
Yeah. Tons.
Which is,
and not only that, arsenic and lead because of cassava flour.
Oh yeah, the cassava.
Cassava flour, it's a root, and it's anything that grows in the ground can have and typically does have some level of heavy metals. But when you bring it down into a flour, you concentrate the lead and the arsenic, so it has that and it has a concentration of glyphosate.
I know.
So all the chemicals in the heavy, it's concentrated in there. It's terrible.
I was bummed when I learned that because I was doing the cassava chips and I was making cassava tortillas and I stopped.
A lot of gluten-free people opt that. And again, no fault of your own, folks, because it's very difficult to know this. Who would know?
Navigating this, I said this earlier to you, it's like a battlefield.
Yeah.
It really is. And so I have a lot of sympathy for people. And so it's not to shame anybody because I didn't know either. I had to do the digging. Yeah. And this is one of the things that I was really frustrated with. And what made me want to get more involved in the political side of things is because I started learning how corrupt it was and also how hard it was to actually stay healthy and how to know how to navigate the grocery store because it's
I want to talk about the corruption because you're in the front lines of this and both of us are really into MAHA, what's going on. And we'll have that conversation. But I feel like, do we leave anything on the table here? So we've been kind of navigating a grocery store here because I really do want people to I want people to be able to go into a grocery store, and be able to make their way around it. And I did mention this, we start at the lowest level of eating, right? This is convenience store eating. Yeah. And then we leveled up to a regular grocery store, and obviously most of it's junk food, right? And, unless you're on the outside of the aisles, and even then, it's not necessarily that great. And then you have your whole food shoppers that I watch. I go to Whole Foods and they whole paycheck, meaning they're spending more. And I look in their grocery bag. I'm like, you might as well just went to the regular grocery store. It's like, because you spent a third more probably.
Yeah.
And it's loaded with sugar.
Yeah.
And bad oils and everything. And they went to Whole Foods. So that's the next level. They leveled up to Whole Foods because they really do want to do better, but they're still being deceived, and then there's the level that we're trying to get people to. But anyway, so any other things that we need to know about these levels?
Yeah, I would say, well, this is an obvious one and we kind of touched on this, but I want to dig into it a little bit further. Just trying to eat minimally out of boxes and packages as much as you possibly can.
Yep.
I think it's unavoidable. I get it. People are busy. I'm busy. I buy things in packages and jars and cans and stuff, but I try to be really minimal with that aspect of it and try to just buy more whole real foods and make my recipes from scratch.
Yeah.
And
time's the issue, don't you think?
Time is a big concern.
It is for me.
Issue.
I mean,
Me too.
it's like I eat very simply because of time. Like you just saw me. Like I just did that because it's time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and that is a really big hurdle for people. And to be honest, I don't even know what the solution is other than getting crafty. Like when I was in college, I was working 2 jobs and I was doing, school during the day, working at night. I would come home and I would still make food and just put it in Tupperware.
My team always says, people want to know what Dr. Pompa eats. And I go, I'm not doing that video because if I tell them, I'll discourage them. I will discourage them because the way I eat is it's overly simple. And people would say to themselves, I don't want to do that. Like I'll eat sardines and avocado, right? It's like, I eat simple,
I do too.
I eat healthy as heck, but it's simple. It's like, and you're not going to convince people to come to my diet when they're eating what they're eating, right? It's like, yeah, but my point though is that you can do better than that, right? I mean, it's like
I know it's hard.
It's like it's like you have to be willing to cook, right? It's like whereas my wife and I are very, very busy, so it's a little bit hard. So I have sympathy for people. I
do too. It's a big hurdle. And I get why so many people go through the drive-through because it's easy. It's so convenient, but convenience is killing us.
Yeah.
So what I always say is that you have to get to a point where I know it's really hard, but it's an uphill battle for all of us. Even those of us that work in this world, like we just mentioned, the time is a really big aspect for us too. It is really hard, but you have to know what you're fighting for. And I always say either you have to make time for your wellness or you will be forced to make time for your illness. You will.
You will.
And it's going to come.
And today it happens like that.
I know.
Most people are sick. Most people think the brain fog and the anxiety and the thyroid problem. It's like, no, that's the start, folks. I know where this goes and it goes fast. And all of a sudden now you get the normal cancer diagnosis, right? I mean, then it's the normal, just be on this medication because now you have a heart condition and it just keeps, and then you end up on the medical treadmill and then you end up on medications feeling a little bit better, only to get thrown off the back of the treadmill because it just keeps getting faster and faster.
Well, the warning signs are there a long time before you get those diagnoses.
That was part of the point.
Yeah. So Callie Means, a dear friend of mine, he's talked about this a lot publicly.
I was just with him in DC. Yeah.
He's the best.
Yeah. He's coming on the show.
Good. He's a great guest. Well, he talks about this with his own mom. He said the warning signs we saw 20 years prior to her cancer diagnosis, because when both her kids were born, they were born over 10 pounds, which tells you that the mom is having metabolic dysfunction. And so then she gets diagnosed with diabetes. They put her on metformin. Then she gets diagnosed with high cholesterol. They put her on a statin. And then, she has this other diagnosis. And Callie looks back on it now and he's like, oh my God, no one ever changed course for her. They just put her on another medication. No one ever talked about her diet or lifestyle.
I mean, and that's a whole nother show, right? It's because that's what's happening in this. Yeah. So we eat this food and we get exposed to all these chemicals that are driving all this disease. Then we go to our doctors who we trust and love, and then they just get put on a statin. They get put on a high blood pressure medication. They get put on the thyroid medication. They get put, and this is healthcare and it's disease care. And we wonder why people are dying at 74, not healthy. Sick because the last 15, my father said, my father was healthy because he ate very differently, that, but later in life, I'm like, Dad, I was always trying to teach him, right? I was like, Dad, you come on, you grew up better than that. You shouldn't be. My father ended up with lung cancer. He smoked for 55 years. Okay. So that's what got him. But he said this. He said, I'm going to say his exact words, son of a bitch, if I'd have known I was going to live so damn long, I'd have taken better care of myself. And he meant it because he struggled the last 15 years of his life, right? And he would be like, because he always said what people say, I'm going to die of something someday anyway, so I'm going to enjoy my food. I'm going to enjoy my thing. It's like that, that mantra went to, son of a bitch, if I'd known I was going to so long, I'd have taken care of myself, meaning I had to suffer for 15 years. If it were only so simple, he just died, but he didn't.
Well, that's the concept that so many people, I feel like, are not understanding, because I see those comments all the time online like, oh, why do you go through all the trouble? You're going to die anyways. Because I don't want to be wheelchair bound and, on 15 medications by the time I'm 65.
I had the benefit of being very sick, unknowing, it's like, and that I say benefit because my greatest fear in life still is going back. I'm serious. PTSD, call it is. I don't ever, because when I was sick, I always said, I don't fear dying. Matter of fact, I don't care if I die. I even entertained suicide. But fact is that the fear was living life like I was. So going back there scares the hell out of me. But that keeps me very disciplined. Don't do that, right?
Yeah.
Meaning,
you can avoid it.
Most of the people watching this right now have some level of brain fog, have some level of massive, probably energy loss that they're using stimulants for. Different drinks, different things, strategies, right? Coffee all day, perhaps. I mean, trying different things, bars. And most of them are hormonally not functioning well. And some people taking hormones, thyroid medication. I just described probably most people in America. And yet what you're saying, and you've been the master at, just start here, change these things, start making better choices. And so much of that will be lifted.
So much of that. I can't relate when I hear that, the majority of the population of Americans have a dip at 3 p.m. and they have to go on coffee. That doesn't happen to me.
Me either.
I don't even know what that's like. And I don't share that to brag. I just say there's a better way is what I'm trying to say.
There was a time where I couldn't even make it through a day, but I was neurotoxic. I went beyond diet I had extreme levels of mercury. But you're right. Most Americans can't make it through a day with normal energy. And therefore,
and that's not normal.
They have to take stimulants.
And that's not normal.
No.
It might be common. Exactly. But it's not normal.
I was in a friend of mine's dental office, and I was in the waiting room waiting for him. And there was 3 women having a normal conversation. And the conversation was, I wanted to butt in. I didn't. Usually I do. And, but the conversation was like, they were sharing their symptoms, their hair thinning, no energy. Man. I mean, they were kind of sharing their problems, and they were sharing their solutions. And here's when I almost butted in. But, but everyone deals with this now. I mean, so, and the one woman said, yeah, I mean, it's, it really is normal. Everything we're dealing with is normal. And that's when I wanted to go, no, it's common.
It's not.
But what she was saying was she was justifying it. Mm-hmm. Like, because if it's normal, then you're okay. But they were going through all their things. These were young women. They were in their 30s, okay, maybe young 40s.
Sad.
But they were going through their list of stuff, and they were just complaining.
When it's normalized, then there's no desire to try to fix it.
Yes.
Because you just say,
and they were already taking things for it.
What happened.
They were already talking about their medication and hormones they were on. And I'm thinking to myself, gosh, my wife and I are so different. I mean, at that time of that conversation, I don't know, we were in our late 50s, but it's like, I was thinking, gosh, the difference between them and us, a choice.
It is. It's a choice. And we have a lot of choices. There are many things that happen to us in life that we have no control over, but this is one that you largely have the most control over. Yeah. It's the way you live your life, your lifestyle, and what you put in your mouth.
You briefed on, we feel the same about these natural flavors, and when I'm doing some of these videos, I sometimes stammer because, all the fuzzy drinks that are just, they typically, they're natural flavors.
Like the energy drinks and stuff?
LaCroix are these.
Oh, the LaCroix.
Yeah. It's like, I hesitate to slam them sometimes because they are a good bridge for people on sodas.
I agree.
And they're better.
I agree with that.
Right? They're better. But then I look at the natural flavors, then I'm like doing a video and I'm like, oh crap, but I know the natural flavors are probably crap, right?
I know.
But yet we both would recognize that if we're taking people off their drink to a LaCroix, that's a good thing.
That's absolutely a good thing. And that's the thing. I think I said earlier, I kind of hesitate to go super far down the natural flavors route because of that.
Yes.
It just is tough. Like I really sit in the middle on that because what really bothers me is we don't know what is in that.
I know.
But I would so much rather.
And because of that, you and I both don't know where to put it. Meaning on the level of danger, because we don't know. It could be super bad.
It could be really
not,
bad.
right? Yeah. So that's a really hard thing, when you do it. Now, here's the ones I recommend now. They have those same drinks where they're using real fruit.
The Spindrifts.
Is that the Spindrifts?
Yes, those are great.
See, I don't even know the dang names of things, but I'm dyslexic too. Spindrifts, so they're way better.
Spindrift is great. There's also another one that my husband and I are obsessed with called Dram. It's DRAM.
Dram, never heard of that one.
I can't find all of their flavors I see them sometimes at Natural Grocers, Sprouts, and Whole Foods, but I generally order them online because they have way more flavors online. They don't use any natural flavors. It's all extracts of like various fruits or
that's what I
like berries and stuff like that. I can't remember some other examples of stuff, but anyways, they're really good.
But there's so people that are addicted to the Diet Coke, the Coke sodas. Now look, when you first pick it up, it's going to taste flavorless to you.
Yeah.
But for you and I, it's like, whoa, that because I drink water, right? It's like
same.
So it's like, oh my gosh, that's amazing, right? Yeah. So you can make that a bridge.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's good.
Well, and too, I tell people, if you're highly, highly addicted to sodas, I feel like the likelihood of you going from a Coca-Cola or a Diet Coke to say like a LaCroix it's probably pretty hard to bridge that gap. So this is where I say things like Olippops are a great meet in the middle.
There you go, because they're a little sweeter.
Yes.
Yeah,
and they only have 5 grams of sugar and they don't have...
See, I'm always too drastic. You're right. That's a better approach.
Well, because when I was going back, so, I mentioned I went, to college and I went fully off the deep end. When I was trying to kind of backtrack, I was using these little placeholders to help me kind of bridge the gap.
Give us some other ones. Olippops.
So Olippops are great in the soda category or...
there's soda, and then we'll talk about other. Yes,
okay, there's also Poppy, which is good too.
Oh yeah, Poppy, yes.
Poppy's another one, and they make great like actual dupes for Coca-Cola, or if you like, Dr. Pepper or whatever it is, they have all of them. Lemon Lime.
Oh, so this company Dupes, which you can find online.
Yep.
And they have like replacements.
Well, in Poppy, you can find everywhere.
Okay,
I've seen Poppy at every grocery store, Whole Foods. I just saw Poppy at a store we were at today. Oh, they have Poppy in like Chipotle.
Yeah, no,
like,
Poppy's popping up.
Yeah, it's popping.
Popping up.
Poppy's popping.
Popping up. I see. You come to our house, and Ava, who my daughter-in-law,
she's awesome.
She like knows all this stuff. That's why matter of fact, she follows you, so she knows all this stuff. I'm like clueless, right? My daughter, Dr. Olivia, she knows all the good stuff too, right? So when they come over, I'm always like, ooh, what's that?
What are you guys doing?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because like I said, I'm too simple, right? It's like you don't want to know how Dr. Pompa eats. I'll be like bore you to death. It's like steak, eggs, meat, vegetables. It's like boring.
I mean, that's how we should be eating.
Yeah, exactly. But it's boring. But people need these replacements, right? They do, right?
And that's a lot of what I do on my page. So I find the healthier for you swaps. Actually, in fact, so I'm newly pregnant and I've been struggling with, some pretty wild cravings that I'm not used to. One of them being mac and cheese.
So we didn't say that, but I can say this now. Yesterday on your Instagram, you announced that you're pregnant.
Yes.
So congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And Maverick, give me your Instagram and any place to follow you.
At Real Foodology. It's at Real Foodology across the board. I have a podcast and my Instagram is Real Foodology. And so you can find me there pretty easily with that name. But yeah, and so one of the things that I was really struggling with was I was really craving cereal and I was really craving mac and cheese. And the thing about when you're pregnant in the first trimester, any woman that has ever gone through this, you get these really crazy food aversions and there's only a couple foods that you can eat. Yeah. Like it was to the point where I couldn't open the fridge for a while because I just was like, with everything. Yeah. And there was a couple foods I could eat and it's your body is, I don't know if it's like a protective mechanism. I don't know what that is. I read it might be like, I read it might be like
intelligence knows.
It's like a primal thing almost of like from our ancestors knowing what food was like more able to be spoiled versus things that are safer to, for a viable pregnancy. And so I was finding these healthier swaps. And we just did a video actually before we came to meet you about this really awesome mac and cheese that I found. It's like 5 ingredients. And they use A2 raw dairy cheese.
Mac and cheese? Is that what she's craving? Oh, A2, right? Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
dairy. That's like the way cows were meant to be before we genetically altered them into A1.
Exactly. And so this is where I really like to meet people in the middle, because I tell them I love burgers, I love fries, I love pizza, I love tacos, I love all these things.
Yeah, of course.
And you can have them, but either find a restaurant. We went to Redmond. If you've been
That's
to
right.
Redmond,
Yeah, I've been there many times.
love
Yeah.
that place.
Yeah, yeah.
You can
exactly.
go there and get a great grass-fed burger straight from their farm.
It's amazing. No, so that's where I get my variety from. Because I travel a lot, every city we go to, I know the health food restaurants.
You and me are the same. We need to swap some.
So arguably, I get more variety and excitement around my diet when I travel, and it's all healthy. People go, "Oh, I travel lots." I'm like, hold on, you don't travel more than me, and I don't move. I don't budge from what I eat healthy on everything. Yeah.
Even when I was pregnant and craving all these, quote unquote unhealthier things, I found this great mac and cheese. It's like 5 ingredients. It's A2 raw dairy. It's organic pasta.
Yeah, it's so easy today to eat raw, even out. It's so there's no excuse.
Yes, no excuse.
I mean, again, that with time we said that's an issue, but you can find, I hate to use the word fast food, but easy food that is healthy these days. So that really does help. And again, then there's the financial component. Then you can eat simple like me if finances are an issue.
I mean, that's the thing. And I talk about on my on my Instagram all the time, you got to get your nutritional bang for your buck. If you're buying a box of ultra processed cereal for breakfast versus buying eggs and bacon, you're going to have more servings if you buy a package of eggs and a package of bacon than you are a box of cereal. And it's going to sustain you for so much longer.
Yeah.
No one ever eats the serving on the box for the cereal, by the way. So you maybe have 3 bowls of cereal on that. If it's just for one person and you're buying eggs and bacon, you have what, like 6 meals there?
Yeah. And the problem is when you eat the cereal, you crave for the rest of the day. So you're going to spend more money ultimately.
Yeah,
and if you eat the bacon and eggs, you're going to satisfy you for hours and hours, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And that's my whole point is I think people need to start thinking at it from a nutritional bang for your buck and a more quality stance of, okay, what is actually going to keep me full and satisfied for longer? Because you're actually going to end up buying less food and spending less money on food when you're buying these really nutrient dense foods that fill you up.
Absolutely. It's counterintuitive a lot, for people. At the end of the day, it all comes down to value, meaning what do you really value? Because when you get sick, I tell you, your values are going to change because now money doesn't matter. You'll find it, right? It's like, you figure it out because you have to. And then you automatically will take money from somewhere else because now you value this more than the new sweater, the designer shoe, whatever. We all have vices, right? But the point is that you find it. It's a value thing. So when I hear money, I just go, yeah, your values are still there. Even the convenience store people, right? Even though, the people that eat at convenience stores because how cheap it is, maybe, right? It's convenient and cheap.
But I would argue that's not even cheap.
No, yeah, it's true.
It's so much cheaper to make that at home than to go to 7-Eleven every day.
They don't. They have to leave home, right? So this is their next lower form of eating.
And then, run out the door with it.
Yeah. But even still, right? It's like those people really, it's like they can afford to eat healthy. It's just they're spending money in the wrong places.
Well, and a lot of people Postmates. I know so many people that Postmates almost every meal, which is like a food delivery app. You know how freaking expensive that is to Postmates, right? Or eating out multiple nights in a row. It is so dang expensive. I mean, me and my husband talk about this all the time. We'll have a meal and we're like, oh my God, how is that $200?
I know.
For one meal, it's so freaking expensive versus I could go spend like $300 at the grocery store and have meals for us all week. Yeah. So it really is about priorities, and maybe it's not fun to not go out to dinner every night or, trade your weekends of drinking and going out and doing all this other stuff. But you're paying the price with your health if you're not paying attention to this, And so like you said, you have to really shift your priorities and ask yourself what really is most important to you.
Yeah. I think we've given them enough to navigate a grocery store, because it is that, I don't want to say that simple, but it's like, if you just do that.
I agree.
MAHA, what's going on right now? There's some exciting changes going out. Bobby's got, the dyes coming out, fluoride coming out of the water. They're making, vaccine changes. I just interviewed Aaron Siri. Do you know who he is?
Yes, he was just on my podcast. He is awesome.
Oh, he was. I saw that.
Yeah.
Oh, he is so awesome.
He's
He's not what I expected from an attorney, right?
Same.
He was like, personality, gregarious, funny. Like, I mean, he was like totally different.
He was awesome.
Yeah,
I know.
He was awesome. But wow, what a brain he has, huh? But anyways, all this exciting stuff about making America healthy again, hence the word MAHA, right? But so what do you like? What do you don't like?
Okay, so I'll share some of the wins that I'm very excited about right now. The food dyes. So it was interesting to see there was a lot of pushback that came back from the food dyes. And I'm seeing a lot of comments from people now like, oh, you got these dyes out of these ultra processed foods, like, well done, basically mocking us. I think what people don't realize, well, one, they should have never been there in the first place. People don't think about also the fact that these food dyes are being served in school lunches to millions of kids across the nation every single day. And they're causing them to bounce off the walls. We know that they're linked to hyperactivity in children. There's also concerning links to cancer. Teachers, I get messages from teachers all the time saying, you would not believe the issues that we're having with children just focusing because they're getting all this ultra processed foods and then they're bouncing off the walls and they can't control them. Yeah. So that's largely a really big win that we're getting it out of that. People are being served that in hospitals and nursing homes. The ripple effect of it will actually be amazing. And again, they should have never been there in the first place.
And you go to Europe and the Fruit Loops look a little duller, right? And they argue if you put European Fruit Loops next to American Fruit Loops, every kid 100% of the time is going to reach for this Fruit Loops. I get the marketing, I get the sales thing, but it's also causing everything you just said to why. Because if it's across the board, your competitor's not going to have a brighter Fruit Loop.
Exactly. So that in my eyes is a really big win. And it's kind of one of those things where it was low hanging fruit. Great. We crossed it off the list, on to the next thing.
It needed to be done.
It needed to be done. Mm-hmm. The Gross loophole is another one that I'm really passionate about that needs to be fixed. And Bobby said that he's working on that, which is, generally recognized as safe, which is the loophole that has allowed a lot of these ultra processed ingredients, fillers, additives, all the crap that's in these ultra processed foods just to allow them to flood the market. Mm-hmm. And the FDA has admitted themselves that they don't have the manpower or the money to manage all of these different ingredients that have ended up on our shelves. And it's largely because Gross, the loophole, really let them all in. So Bobby is reevaluating that right now. He's rewriting the dietary guidelines, which were, as of right now, the ones that are written are over 200 pages. No one's ever going to read all that, first of all. Second of all, it was largely written by industry. Yeah. So it really, it just allowed industry to dictate what our dietary guidelines were.
The food pyramid, right? It was always designed to make it simple, right? For parents, people, right? And it is absolutely ridiculous.
I can't believe that was ever
eating Fruit Loops is considered healthier than eating a steak, according to the food pyramid, right? Did you see the South Park episode? I don't watch South Park, but so
flip
people
the pyramid.
Yeah, they're like, you got to see it, right? It's like, so oh my gosh, it's hilarious. But Google South Park food pyramid, you'll see the piece. But it was like, okay, we have a problem, and and then he's like, no, we have a solution. What is it? He's like, we flipped the pyramid,
sir.
Like,
it's upside down.
It's upside down. You got to flip it. It's like, oh my God, we have a match. It's hilarious.
South Park, they're genius. The writers are great.
Right? Oh my God.
That was really good.
Because the food pyramid it's upside down. That's what makes it so funny.
I know, it's really funny. And it has been needed to be reevaluated for so long. He's working on that right now. It's going to be like 4 pages written with Americans' health in mind, not written by industry. So that's going to be a huge win.
How did the food pyramid get upside down? Big Food developed it. That's how it got upside down.
Exactly. And they're encouraging eating a lot of ultra processed foods that should never have been in there in the first place.
Yeah, it's remarkable.
And shockingly enough, I hear a lot of people say, oh, no one really follows that. What is written by the government and then pushed out through nutritionists and RDs and hospitals and nursing homes, they all go by that.
Yes, absolutely. But you watch the Today Show or something, they're going by it.
Yeah.
They're talking about less calories, low fat. Exactly. It's like, they're getting it from that.
Exactly. The mainstream gets all the talking points from that. And so they're going to rewrite all of that to really help guide Americans are just generally very confused on what to eat. We've just spent an entire episode on how to navigate that. What do you eat? How do you know what to eat? And so this is going to be an easier guideline for people to follow. So,
and Aaron Sari said this, maybe you said it in your interview as well. It's like, look, big drug companies, big pharma doesn't spend their money, have to do ads on vaccines. Okay. And they spend the money on where Big Food does it in the schools, all the leaders, everything, right? It's like all that because it trickles down into the doctor's offices and everything that vaccines are, the answer.
Well, have you heard that quote? Where is the largest chain, the fast food chain in America? It's our schools.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
it's really horrifying. So I know that there is some talk. I don't know if there's solid talk on exactly what we're going to do about school lunches, but I know that that's also on the docket of something that they want to fix. And then the last thing that I am excited about is they're finally reevaluating baby formula regulations.
Oh my gosh.
Because
That's
for people,
tragedy.
It's a tragedy for people.
I've done so many videos on that.
I know.
It's all sugar and bad fats. That's all it is.
Well, and do you know why that is? So I started digging into this. So there were two different iterations of the regulations that baby formula manufacturers still have to go by. And the last time that they reformulated that regulation, I believe was in 1984, if I remember specifically. It was somewhere in the early 80s. Well, think about what we were doing back then. We were low fat movement. We were vilifying healthy animal fats, and we were pushing polyunsaturated fats, which we still are.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But that's when they created those guidelines. And when you look at the makeup of breast milk naturally, it's actually higher in monounsaturated fats and it's higher in saturated fats, and it's on the lower end of polyunsaturated fats. But because we demonized saturated fats so much and we put polyunsaturated fats up higher and said, oh, these are really healthy. So to be clear for people that don't know, polyunsaturated fats are canola oil. So it's largely the seed oils.
All your seed oils, vegetable oil, corn
oil,
soybean oil, all of that.
All of that.
Yeah. And again, in those things, in vegetables, in seeds, they're fine because they're protected. But the moment you pull it out, now you have a rancid oil that goes right for your cell membranes, because that's where these things go, because omega-6 is so important in the cell membranes. And boom, it creates inflammation. Oh, and you know what? You can make your hormones normal by taking hormones, but guess what? They can't get in the cell and you don't feel well and nothing works.
Exactly. And I don't think this is this is not being talked about enough either, is that you have to have a ratio of omega-6s to omega-3s in your body. Yeah. And you need it to be in about a 4-to-1 ratio.
Well, and that's real simple. If you eat natural, it's there.
Exactly. It just happens
if you're
naturally.
eating grass-fed meat, it's there. Somewhere between a 1-to-1 to a 1-to-6 ratio is what happens in nature, and it's absolutely so easy.
It's so easy, but they've found that Americans eat around 15 to 20 to 1 in the ratio because of all these oils.
All the seed oils. That's what throws it off.
Well, Americans' diets are comprised of about 20% of these seed oils now. And so this is why it's a huge concern.
And the reason I brought it up is the balance, because people go, oh my gosh, so first of all, two problems. People overcomplicate that. Now I have to, figure out a percentage of fats. No, if you're eating natural, it's done for you. That's the good news, right? Take out vegetable oil, canola oil, seed oils, you're going to come into the normal ratio, okay? And then the other problem I have is we have demonified omega-6. Omega-6 is incredible. I'd argue almost more important than omega-6 or omega-3 in so many ways. Both are important, but we've made it the bad guy. Omega-6 is important. It's the rancid omega-3 and 6 that are bad. Omega-6 is, I do whole lectures on it. It's the key to people's cell membrane health and their hormone health. But the reason why it's so bad is because it's so good. Meaning when the rancid stuff is, it's so important in that membrane. And when those omega-6 get in that membrane and they're inflammatory because they're rancid, it screws your health up.
Well, and that's, to your point, that's a really big part of it too, is a lot of these oils are rancid because they're sitting on the shelves for, years at a time.
In the scientific literature, it's called adulterated.
Yes.
Rancid is just a simpler way to say it. Denatured maybe is even simpler. I don't know.
Exactly. So you think about what we know about these polyunsaturated fats, and based on the regulations that they created in the 80s for baby formula, now today, if a manufacturer wants to make a healthier baby formula, they are not legally allowed to make one without putting either canola oil in there, soybean oil, sunflower oil.
They're legally not, they have to put those in.
Yeah.
Because of that polyunsaturated
because of this regulation, and because they have to have a certain percentage of polyunsaturated fatty acids. Oh, wow. So when you
to your point, it hasn't, that thing that hisses what formula has to do because we love babies so much and protect babies. That wasn't, you said 1974?
I believe it was 84. I need to look it up, but I think that was when the last iteration happened. It was somewhere in the early 80s. I wish I should have brushed up on that before.
Yeah,
it was somewhere.
It's
it was
all
somewhere
the way
right
in the
around
early
there.
80s. It hasn't been evaluated.
It hasn't been reevaluated since then.
The HHS now, Bobby wants to look at this and say, okay, let's make new guidelines.
Yes, because so many people are concerned, because even if you go and you buy the healthier formula, the baby formulas, and let me actually just say this really fast. I'm a huge proponent for breastfeeding. If you can breastfeed,
yes,
please do it.
Oh my gosh.
I will be fighting like hell to make sure that I can breastfeed. But I understand that there's certain situations, maybe you've had a mastectomy. I get it. There are certain situations.
But these formulas, like there's times, right? There's the people have to do this, sometimes lower income, that babies, whatever. Point is, though, is that when these babies drink this formula, they're set up for allergies, guaranteed.
100%. They're getting loaded with polyunsaturated fatty acids too, that are mostly rancid. And, when moms are trying to find, because now, I mean, if you look at just the conventional ones, so I was in Costco recently and I was looking at all the conventional ones, and I mean, I was horrified. Corn syrup solids, soybean oil. Interesting fact about soybean oil, there was a study that came out a couple of years ago where they found soybean oil actually reduces oxytocin in the brain. Oxytocin is your love bonding hormone with your baby. You don't want to be reducing oxytocin in their brain. And we're putting this in baby formula, the first thing that they're eating, right when they land on Earth. So we need to absolutely reevaluate what's going into baby formulas. But then because of these regulations, how outdated they are, even the healthier for you ones that our moms are buying, like I use Bobby as a perfect example. And I want to say that I think the founder and the owner of Bobby is wonderful. I've had conversations with her. I think that she's on the right path and she wants to do right. She is up against FDA regulations where she has canola oil in hers, but she uses organic grass-fed milk. She uses great ingredients other than that, but she's legally bound to having to put canola oil in there.
I didn't know that.
Because of these regulations.
I had no idea. That's horrible.
So what I always tell people, and this is what many of my girlfriends have done with their infants, if they've had to supplement or if for some reason they couldn't use formula, they're buying Serenity Kids or Sammy's milk. And these ones use coconut oil instead and palm oil, which I'm okay with palm oil, actually. I think it's okay in small amounts.
It could go either way on palm oil. Yeah. And if you get an organic one, typically it's going to be better. Yeah.
So this is like a really good, they use all, organic A2, they use organic A2 milk. It's, grass fed. They have palm oil, a little bit of palm oil in there, canola oil, not canola oil, coconut oil.
Yeah.
But every time I recommend this to people on my Instagram, they all write me back and they say, well, I need an infant formula because legally by law, they're not allowed to call their formula infant formula. So it's toddler formula is what it said.
They got around the rule there.
But they formulated it for infants. In fact, I actually had the founders on my podcast a couple of years ago and they said, we formulated it for infants. We just can't call it infant formula because these regulations.
Wow.
So I will buy, if I need to supplement, I will be buying Serenity Kids or Sammy's milk. And I'll just be giving my infant the quote unquote toddler formula. Because it's just about the FDA regulations.
Right. I mean, but you'll be able to pump, store it in the freezer.
Exactly. And that's the plan. I hope that I don't have to use formula.
Yeah, exactly. But for those who do for whatever reason, that is great advice right there.
Yeah.
So is there the movement, is there anything you'd like to see more focus on, less focus on?
Yeah. So there's one thing I'm currently working on right now with some of the leaders in the MAHA movement. We are incredibly frustrated, in fact, downright pissed about what's happening at the EPA right now. So for those that are not aware what's happening at the EPA, despite Lee Zeldin claiming to be MAHA and on the side of MAHA, in fact, he's sat at a lot of these meetings. I was at the MAHA report earlier this year.
He was at the thing I was just at the other night.
Oh yeah, actually. So I was supposed to go to that. Yeah. Yes. So he claims that he's MAHA, and look, I would love to have a conversation with him. Lee, if you hear this, I will gladly sit down with you.
He's coming to the dinner party tonight. No, I'm kidding.
I
got a laugh out of the husband.
Let's go. I would love to have a conversation with him. And I know some people have had conversations with him. What's happening right now at the EPA is not good. They are rolling back regulations on PFAS, otherwise known as forever chemicals, in our drinking water. So there was actually, I like to give credit where credit's due. The Biden administration actually started putting in regulations for safer water, and they were regulating PFAS.
Thank God they did something, right?
I know. I was like, they got one win under their belt.
Wow.
But they rolled that back. And so there is no safe level of PFAS in our water. For people that don't know what that is, it's something called a forever chemical. And the reason they call that forever chemicals is they never break down in the environment. So essentially they live
in your body too.
And in your body. So they essentially live in the environment forever. They are massive endocrine disruptors. We know that they are linked to infertility. We know that they're linked to cancer. They are a big deal.
Yeah.
A big deal.
Big deal. I do so many videos. I bore myself and I feel like I'm boring people, but
me too.
These things are so bad.
It's so bad. And it's really hard to avoid when it's in your water and it's in your food. The EPA also just allowed approved 2 PFAS-based pesticides for use on food. So on corn, soy,
and under Lee Zeldin, this flew over.
And Lee is claiming that they are not actually forever chemical based, but the EPA just reclassified what means PFAS. Now they just reclassified the definition
you're
to get around it.
Yeah, to go around it.
Now,
so that really it is.
Yeah. So I will give him an olive branch and say that unfortunately he has some people in there. What are their names? Nancy Beck and Kyle, I forgot his other name. They are agrochemical company lobbyists, and they are protecting these agrochemical companies over Americans' health. And we are incredibly frustrated and concerned about this. There's also another thing, though. I'm sure you've heard about the chemical liability shield, where companies like Monsanto, Bayer that create glyphosate, they're looking for liability.
Same thing vaccine companies do.
Exactly. And if this pushes through, this will be absolutely disastrous for Americans' health, because this is one that is so insidious because it's invisible, because it's being sprayed on our food. It's very hard to avoid. It's why I always tell people buy organic whenever humanly possible, because they're not legally allowed to spray it on there, but it's ending up in our organic food too. And then you just look around at the health of America right now. Cancer rates are exploding.
Sure.
Infertility is exploding. I can't tell you how many girlfriends I have in their 30s that are struggling to get pregnant.
And here's the thing. This is my last podcast I did, and everyone's trying to solve the problem by taking more bioidentical hormones. How's that working out? It's not. Meaning time and a place, right? Not being overcritical. But the point is everything you just said is why we are in such a hormone havoc right now, in that people just can't figure out what to do and nothing works, right? The level of toxicity is massive right now, like no time ever in humanity. And of course it's affecting our children. Of course, in the last 50, 60 years, chronic disease in children went well under 10% to arguably over 60%. I mean, diseases we've never saw, like cancer and all this stuff. It's the chemicals. It's the chemicals. This goes beyond food. Food is a carrier. Water is a carrier. Personal care products are carriers. But it's the damn chemicals that we're allowing, especially in this country. Oh, and by the way, I believe diabetes and obesity is more chemical issue than even food. And of course, food brings it in. So how can I make the argument without talking about how bad food is?
Well, exactly. It's what you said, food, because food is the vehicle for it.
It is.
And it's so invisible, and it's becoming harder and harder to avoid all of these, because it's in our drinking water. It's being sprayed on our food. I mean, it's being sprayed in the air. So, it's everywhere. It's ubiquitous. And so this is one thing that I'm not happy about. We're actively working on it right now. We actually have a petition going at the moment, and are hopefully going to be having a conversation with Lee. Like I said.
So how did you get involved? I mean, so you're pretty into this political movement. So how did you get there? And what would you call yourself in this?
Yeah. I mean, I guess you would call me a food activist. So
yeah, that's what I was going to call you.
Yeah.
Food activist. That's a good thing.
This is really where my passion truly lies.
I can tell.
When I went into school for nutrition, I thought initially that I was, just going to have clients and, see people one-on-one. And then I started learning about this corruption. I was like, oh, this is what I was made for. I feel like I was put on this earth to fight this fight. So I don't even know, to be honest, I'm trying to think of the thread that led me here. I just started getting super involved in the activism side of things. I made friends with, Vani Hari, the food babe, Callie Means, and started putting myself in front of these people. And I just got involved with MAHA. I think what really started my work with MAHA specifically is last year, Senator Ron Johnson put on a nutrition roundtable that I was invited to speak at with Bobby Kennedy, Callie Means, Jillian Michaels, my friend Brigham Bueller, Alex Clark spoke. And we opened the doors and the communication to start asking the questions of why are Americans so sick? This is, we kind of outlined why we think it is and what we needed to do about it. And from there, it just kind of exploded into this whole group of us really trying to actively make change in the food industry. And you know, what I said before is there's a lot of amazing things happening in MAHA that I'm really happy about right now. One thing I say all the time, and I want to repeat this, is that, you know, I've been in this fight for almost 20 years. I remember I voted for Obama. Not proud of it now, but I will say I voted for Obama because at the time he was talking about GMOs. He was talking about going after Monsanto with glyphosate. And then I watched him with my very eyes sell out the American people to Monsanto. And he made it such a battle for us to get just a simple label on our food, on our labels about if they were using bioengineered ingredients. So it was such a battle. And then, you know, so I've been in this fight for so long, and I've watched all these presidents, and I've begged any of them to say something about it. No one ever even mentioned that we were sick. No one ever said anything about the health of our population. And then all of a sudden we see, you know, Bobby Kennedy and Trump come together, and then Trump stands up there and goes, "We are sick. We are being poisoned." And I was like, thank you.
I know. Listen,
thank you.
You know,
someone
it's like
mentioned it.
People hate him for his personality, but it's his personality that is why he's so dang good. You know, because he just says shit, man. He just like the whole vaccine thing, right? It was like Bobby said the other night. He's like, I have to pull him back sometimes, like, because he's so passionate and zealot about, you know, like when he talk about like people dying and kids, and like when you hear him talk about the Ukraine war, he always talks about the people dying. You know, he does. His heart's there. And when you talk about health of kids, I mean, he went after it. It was kind of like, let's go in the door with one of the potential causative factors, you know, Tylenol, acetaminophen. And he went right after vaccines. And it was like off playbook, right? It was like, we're going to wait till the study's all done. And like, it was like, he went after it, man. He went there after it.
I know, he just talks, and it's great. But I mean, like I said, you know, I've been waiting for anyone on a public political stage to acknowledge that we were sick. And finally someone said it. And what do they say all the time? What is the first step of fixing the problem? You name the problem. I've been waiting for 20 years for someone to name the problem. So I mean, thank God someone named the problem.
Step 2, get to the cause.
Exactly. And look, talk to me in 4 years and we'll see what we actually accomplish. But that alone to me was already such a win.
You know, there's already been big, huge wins. I mean, just this stuff that you just talked about, the vaccine, we're evaluating the vaccine schedule for the first time.
Thank God.
You know, most of the Northern European countries have 9 less vaccines that they put into a child. It's like, what? It's like, and all their health statistics are way better than ours, especially their children. Come on, man.
And have you seen that?
You know what Trump said right away when he saw that? Well, we need to evaluate that. Why aren't we doing what they're doing?
Why are we not looking under every rock?
Yeah.
That's what I don't understand. And why is there so much pushback? I mean, I understand the pushback is coming from the industries that stand to lose a lot of money. But the people that are defending the industries, I look at them and I go, what are we doing here? Don't you want to know why everyone is so sick? Why can't we look down every avenue? Fine. If we're wrong about vaccines and they're totally safe and they're fine, great. Don't we want to know that?
Yeah, no doubt. And you know what we want? We want freedom to be able to choose.
Exactly.
You want to vaccinate your kid, go ahead. And we're going to hopefully have real studies showing that it's safe or not, make a decision based on that. But don't take my rights away. You can have your rights.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, Aaron and I talked about that because, of course, they use the straw man of, well, yeah, but if your kids aren't vaccinated, we're not going to hit herd immunity and it's a danger to my kids. That's BS. That's just crap. And he slammed that down, man. Slammed it down. The only 2, I want to say diseases, you know, we'll say infections that could actually, the vaccine could stop spread. Chickenpox and measles, the 2 that you want your kids to get. I know people don't understand that, but they actually build better immunity. They prevent cancer. They prevent autoimmune. When your kid gets measles or chickenpox, it's a good thing. In the old days, the Brady Bunch, they sent their kids down to get measles, remember? Because we all did that.
When I was a kid, we had chickenpox parties.
Yeah, of course. We had measles parties when I was a kid, but I'm a lot older. So it's like, but we did. It's like, you know, we would go down and get the stuff because now that big study in Japan, right? 22 years and the kids that got exposed to measles, far healthier, every outcome, every disease. You want it.
Well, you mentioned this, but very specifically, I want to name this because I just learned this recently with a guest that I had on my podcast that I never knew. So if you get chickenpox naturally, just through the natural infection, you have a lower chance of having cancer later on in life. It gives you immunity for that.
That's part of that study. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Which blew my mind. And if you get vaccinated for it, you don't get those same benefits.
That was that Japan study. And there's been others. Yeah. The measles is the same way. It gives you all this major, powerful immunity to cancer and all
And
these
they don't kill you.
No,
Chickenpox
no.
for sure. I mean, measles.
Aaron knew the numbers
but-
on it, like death in 1 in 469,000 or something like that, right? And who's really, dying is, not your average kid, right?
Yeah.
And yet when you look at the consequences of the vaccine, and it's like, oh my gosh.
Well, you weigh what happens with the vaccines versus what happens just when you allow it to go through the population naturally. You're going to have, unfortunately, you're going to have a risk, either way.
Absolutely.
But it's like, what is the path that causes less harm?
And people don't understand the vaccine at best gives you a temporary immunity, right? Raises up antibodies. That's why you have to get boosters. The problem is when you get chickenpox, measles, mumps, rubella, whatever it is, you get it through typically a nasopharynx or GI, and you get a different immune response than giving the jab.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So the fact is when you get it naturally, you have a lifetime immunity. Okay. And that's why it affects cancer rates later. That's why it affects all, because you have this lifetime immunity that affects you in your immune system in all these other ways. When you get the jab, it affects you in this time. Here's the problem. If you end up getting measles at an age that you shouldn't get it, it creates more death.
Yeah.
So it's more dangerous. So arguably the vaccine is more dangerous because you're protecting when a kid should get it, and now they're vulnerable later. And that's why, again, we could talk about shingles, like all of that is when, if we get these conditions, these illnesses when we should, it actually builds lifetime immunity.
It's almost like it was part of God's design.
Oh, you think? Yeah, exactly.
What a wild concept.
Yeah, exactly. Changing the food your family eats, do your education about anything you put in your child, and it dang well should be your choice. Aaron said something really disturbing to me, and it was that they're lobbying for in certain states that a doctor can give your child a vaccine and not ever tell you. Oh, and on their medical record, they don't ever have to put it. So even if your insurance pays for it, it's hidden from the parent. The parent will never find out, and that's the selling point. Parent will never find out that they stuck your child, and you might find out years later, probably never find out. Unless the child's old enough to be like, oh no, they gave me a shot. What kind of shot? Yeah, so that
or if all of a sudden your kid is
ultimately
sick all the
what
time.
they want. They want to be able to control your kid. Aaron said something so good, and I was so in line with, and this kind of goes into this whole food conversation too. It's less conspiracy than people think. Meaning, he's been in the boardrooms, right? He sees it for what it is. They're not like, let's make your kid sick and sell them medications, because people think that, right?
Yeah.
Or big food. They're just trying to get you sick, and then they're linked to
medication.
No, it's about dollars and cents. It's about we want to create the food that is cheap, easy, has shelf life, because at the end of the day, shareholders want profit, and it's no different in big pharma. And most of them believe in their product, right? Because the vaccinologists are the only ones that understand it, right?
Yes.
It's like they don't understand. They're just looking for profits. So if we can get every kid, because this product's so good, if we can get every kid vaccinated and parents are standing in the way, how dare them stand in the way of the health of their children?
We're going to get the parents out of the
better.
way.
Yeah,
we know better.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's a perfect business model too. You scare everyone and you force them into it. And also you don't give them a choice, because they have to have this to go to school.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a brilliant business when you think about it.
It's the cash cow. Oh, wait. And it gets better because we don't have to do studies.
Yeah. They're not held liable.
Double-blind placebo studies. And you're not held liable. Oh, wait, hold on. So I don't have to spend hundreds of millions of dollars studying it, and I can't be sued? Okay, that's the cash cow of big pharma. I mean, folks, whether you believe in vaccines or not, or want them or not, do you have a problem with that? You should, because it's the only drug that those two rules apply. So do you think that it's, not about dollars and cents to those shareholders?
Yeah. And the liability thing is just the thing that I always come back to, is why would you ever want to put your trust in a company that they don't have any safeguard that requires them to have any sort of protection around it or do the safety studies, because they don't have to.
Bobby said it earlier. If we just change those two things.
I know.
Hold on. If you just change one thing, you can sue them. Okay, now they're going to be like, oh, maybe we should do a double-blind study. But here's the problem. They won't ever, because you know why? It's not going to work out. It's not going to work out. And it's like, and the problem is I think it was Casey. Anyways, it was the Senate thing, so it must be Senator. But
okay.
Anyways, it was said that, wait. Bobby's wrong on this.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Cassidy. Is
Is it Cassidy?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Anyways,
Yeah.
he's wrong on this because there have been 2 double-blind studies. There's 2 vaccines that have been double-blind placebo trials. Oh, yeah. You know what the placebo group got? Aluminum.
Yep.
An adjunct, aluminum.
And I think they got an antibiotic too. They got something
wonderful.
else too.
But the point is if as long as the placebo group has the same symptoms, it's equal to the other group, it's considered safe. So let's give them aluminum, an adjunct, and some antibiotics in there, whatever the placebo group wasn't saline. And of course, oh, look, the symptoms are the same. It's safe. That's not a real double-blind placebo trial.
Exactly. And I was going to say the irony is that they're supposed to be the upholders of the science, and they're not even going by their own definition of what a placebo is.
Don't even get me started on science because it's become, well, that's what I loved about Aaron's book. It was the Vaccines Amen, meaning it's like, this is a religion. It's like, and, that's why, man, the people who wouldn't get vaccinated for COVID, I mean, they hated us. Like, no, man, you were evil.
Oh,
because you were making people sick.
I lost so many friends during COVID because I refused. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And now, but see, here's the thing. Where are those people now?
I know.
Meaning they were wrong.
Oh, yeah. Well,
it didn't protect against spread, so you weren't making people sick if you didn't get vaccinated. Oh, it didn't work. Oh, third thing, it actually is making people sick. And it's like we have all these people who are so deathly ill from it. Oh my gosh. It's like, I hope you're apologizing, folks, those people. They're probably not watching.
They're probably not watching. Yeah. No, it was, I lost a lot of friends during that time. But you know what? Honestly, I was so convicted back then. What I said back then was this was the hill I was willing to die on. Yeah. Because I knew. Smart. I knew.
And you know what? I say all that even to say, I don't judge anybody that got the vaccine because the pressure was so great, man.
No. Oh my God. I just wanted to be left alone to make my own decision. Well, I was not judging anyone, but exactly. It was just like, leave me alone. You make your decision. I don't want to be, outcast from my friend group just because I decided not to do it because it did not provide any protection anyways. It didn't. Also the mentality of I can't hang out with you because you didn't get vaccinated. Well, I was like, well, isn't this supposed to protect you? So what is the point of you getting the vaccine?
I interviewed, exactly. It's so stupid. The whole thing's so stupid, right? But it's somehow it became this, this political thing. Masks as well. I interviewed Jenny McCarthy here, and she was the original. She was the first person to be labeled anti-vaxxer.
I remember.
Yeah. Oh, she's great. You should interview her.
I would love to get her.
I'll connect you.
Thank you.
I'll ask her. Yeah. Well, because her new line, Formless Beauty, it's amazing.
Really?
Because she followed in her cosmetic line. She followed the environmental working groups, 600 some pages of what's acceptable and what's not.
Awesome.
She followed it to a T.
Epic.
I actually had her products tested.
Really?
Yeah, and they came out really well.
Oh, I love that you did that.
I told her I was going to do it. I didn't do it sneaky or mean, but it came out really good. My wife loves her products. So
that's
yeah,
awesome.
You should have her on.
I would love to have her on. Well, she had such an impact on me growing up because my brother was actually vaccine injured. And I remember when she came out and spoke out against the vaccines and they made such an example of her. I learned back then to go, oh, okay, I can't talk about this because talking about this equals societal suicide, essentially.
You want to talk about how politics matters and why God's put you going in that direction because it matters so much. Because if you want to have the greatest impact, love your social media, keep doing it, but it's not nearly going to have the impact as when you moving into this political battle. We need women like you up front. I always say women because women just seem like they're more passionate about children and the health of our children.
Yes, it's true. That mama bear energy.
It is. It's there. So we need you there. Just the fact that, right now we're able to change things, I think, for the first time. And, it's, we have such an opportunity right now to keep driving in that direction, because we're at a really pivotal time right now.
We really are. And look, it's not perfect. And I know there's a lot of things that people aren't happy about, but everything we just mentioned and also the vaccine stuff, I'm really happy about what MAHA is doing with all of that. We finally have a fighting chance. And like I said earlier, we finally have a government and political officials that are admitting we have a problem and they're at least starting to try to tackle it. Look,
I remembered what I was going to say. You triggered it. Now hold on to that thought. I wanted to say, we couldn't even say the word darn vaccine without being shut down.
Yes, exactly.
And now with this administration, politics matter. That's what I was saying. Politics matter.
They really matter.
Because we can talk about this openly now.
Yes.
When you can't talk about stuff, man, we're going in the wrong direction. We can talk about vaccines vaccines make, and by the way, we just want everyone to have a choice. And now on social media, we can use the word. How about that? That's politics.
Exactly.
You make your point.
Well, and to your point, I remember during COVID, because I felt like I was joked that I was like prepped and ready before COVID came, because I was already seeing what was happening with food. I knew how corrupt pharma was. And I just felt like I saw through so much of the BS from the very beginning. And I fought for 4 years trying to get out what I knew without getting my account taken down. Because I was watching all of my friends, like really well-known doctors, their accounts were getting deleted. Bobby Kennedy got deleted off Instagram. And so I was like walking on eggshells, you know, speaking
we were all
in rhymes.
Scared. We were all scared.
Like speaking in rhymes.
I had videos
basically
taken down, right?
Oh,
and
yeah,
I
me
had
too.
one more and you're done, right?
Yeah. And you know what I was talking about mostly was protecting your immune system, going outside and getting sunlight, getting vitamin D. And that was the things that I was getting flagged for.
Yeah, early on, I'm surprised I didn't get wiped out, because early on I said, me and my family, we're going to just get COVID as quick as we can, and we're going to go about our lives. Oh, they didn't like that. Because I even was doing things showing what herd immunity really is, right? Oh, I bet. Man, like they hated me because I'm telling people, I'm like, look, my advice was, look, if you're really sick and immune challenged, stay away. Of one day you're going to get exposed anyway, and hopefully you're healthier. But if you have normal health, go out and get it.
Well, the irony was that
my life.
We have videos of Fauci from what was it, the 70s or the 80s saying that the best way to get immunity is by getting it naturally.
Yeah, exactly. And then all of a sudden that didn't matter. You had to get the vaccine.
And then he's pushing the vaccine in 2020. Or 2021, whenever that was. But yeah, I mean, it just was ridiculous. And I think the point that I was kind of wrapping up was that I'm very excited because for the first time in history, we actually have an administration that's admitting we have a problem and then actively trying to do something about it. And maybe they're not perfect and they're making some mistakes. We're very not happy about the EPA right now. We're working on that because it is anti-MAHA, and I get it because everyone's going, where's MAHA? Where's MAHA? We're working on it. We're paying attention to this. We're not happy about it. But there's a lot of things that are happening that are amazing, including the fact that we have free speech. That was one of the things that I was most worried about if we lost this election, was that I was like, that
was my biggest fear.
My podcast and my Instagram were toast. They wanted to regulate all of that.
I don't mind when people disagree with me.
Oh my God.
It's fun for me. But
Same.
It's like, but my gosh, when you start to lose your free speech and we can't talk about pros and cons of vaccines and this and that and other topics, food, it's like, that's scary.
That's also the scientific method. You have to be able to talk about all angles of it and let people get out all their different points. And then you let the best consensus and the smartest,
the better the truth you get.
Exactly. And that's how you get to the truth, because the best ideas and the most scientific backed things rise to the top because it's the truth.
Well said, Courtney. You got it. We want her. I'm voting for her for the next HHS. Bobby might too. Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. But awesome. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for making it simple. Thank you for the recipes. Thank you for that we have a place to go. Tell them where to go one more time.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun. I loved having this conversation with you. You can find me at Real Foodology on Instagram. I'm also on X. I'm not as active as I am on Instagram. Mostly active on Instagram, and then the Real Foodology podcast, which is on all major podcast platforms. And make sure you check out my interview with Dr. Pompa because he's coming on mine too.
Yeah, can't wait.
Yay.
Awesome. Yeah. Now visit all her stuff. Share it because people need to know all this information we discussed. So appreciate you. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much.